All right, Mr. Kingman, thanks for your time. We're here to discuss a range of things, but first, we've seen you in the news. You're handling a very high-profile case here with former Governor Ralph Torres. But before we get into all of that, I just want to give you a chance to introduce yourself to the public who might have just seen you in the headlines but don't know much about you. So, yeah, wherever you want to begin.
Sure. Thank you. My name's Jim Bob Kingman. I'm from a town called Corsicana, which is in East Texas, and it's the home of a college called Navarro. And because of that, it actually, back during the Trust Territory days, started getting a large Micronesian population. So even though my town is small and it's 20,000 people, we actually have a pretty substantial population from primarily FSM and Palau. And so I've grown up close to the community that's in my hometown. There's some Saipanese folks that have made their home there as well. There's been a connection between Texas and the islands for half a century now. I've always hoped that there was going to be an opportunity for me to come out to this part of the world where I've heard about and cared about for a long time. When I was in the mainland, I was helping with some Compact of Free Association Nation immigration issues. And then I was reached out to last year by a friend of mine from growing up who's made his home out here. I've specialized in anti-corruption and white-collar prosecution as part of my overall portfolio since I was a law student. And I have a lot of experience with trial, and so my friend reached out and said, hey, can you do this short 3-month long stint? Case is set June 5th, and I got a leave of absence from my firm and came out here hoping to just have a quick little assistance, because when a friend asks for help, you help them.
And so you went to Harvard Law?
I did, yes.
And the job you had before this was in Texas as a private firm, you said?
Yes. The bulk of, I had been in private practice for about a year, but the bulk of my career, more than a decade at that point, has been as a prosecutor in different district attorneys' offices and as a clerk for the Supreme Court in Texas for criminal appeals.
And so the question this month is, why Saipan? I gotta ask you, why Saipan? Why take this job in this part of the world? What made you say yes?
I'm primarily because I was asked, and that's, if you are in a position to help and someone asks you for help, you help them. When I got out here and the circumstances changed and the trial date seemed to be put off indefinitely, I had at that point learned a lot about what the challenges were and the needs were facing the CNMI, and I felt like I was in a position to help to the extent that I can, and more importantly, I felt like it was an important thing to do.
And your official title now is, what is your official title at the AG's office?
So I guess I'm an assistant attorney general, but so are all of the division chiefs, and I mean that's the sort of a broad term for everyone that's not the attorney general. But within the office, I'm still the special prosecutor because I've been designated that to handle the particular case involving the former governor. But I'm also the managing prosecutor of the Public Integrity Task Force, which is the interagency group that was established or reestablished in May of last year, so after I was here. And whenever it became clear that I was going to be waiting for the case that I was brought out here to go to, it seemed like, well, this is a way that I can keep working on trying to assist with the Commonwealth while I'm waiting for the case that I was brought here to come to court.
And so I wanted to now talk about the Torres case. I've had the chance to interview you multiple times already at this point. As you exit the courtroom, the pace of the case, you've voiced frustration over that. To the extent you're able to speak to it, what is the status of the Torres case now, and what's your view on how it's been handled so far?
You know, I'm not gonna comment on rulings or anything other than noting that I've not seen progress on a case like this be at this pace ever before. And I, frustrated is not maybe not the right term, because it's not like there's not other work to do. There is, but I think it's important for the Commonwealth that it has a right too, and operating with a scheduling order is important. And we've asked our judiciary to administer the rule of law, and I think it's important to make sure that that's happening.
All right. Did you have any further comments about the Torres case?
I'm not going to talk about the substance of it or any of the rulings. There's been a lot of newspaper articles and publicity, but really, whenever it's time for us to go to court, I hope that there will be an airing of everything in the open.
And I read somewhere, correct me if I'm wrong, but I am on social media, and I read that you felt like you were brought here for a reason. It sounds like it's a mission for you. This work is a mission. Is that fair characterization, or how would you describe it?
Yes, I feel like there are a lot of small world synchronicities that happen to line up where someone that's like me, that's from a small town, so I'm comfortable in a small town, someone that has some experience trying cases like this, and someone with a connection to the region, that's not a very common set of characteristics. And this work, it fills me with a lot of purpose and contentment, because I do believe this place could just be so much better. This is a paradise, but there's also a lot of human misery, and there's been a lot of systemic failure, and some of it is just by accident, some of it's by things outside of the control of anyone on this island. And if I can do anything to help make it a little bit easier for a shift into a little bit more accountable, responsive governance, so that way the islands can be better, I think that that's an important thing for me to be doing with my life.
Thank you. And I think your statement is also reflective of some of the public statements you've made outside of your capacity at the AG's office. You've spoken out at the casino hearing, the Casino Commission hearing. In their public comments, you also recently shared your thoughts on the Assange hearing. You have a newsletter as well, I believe.
I do, yeah.
You write more about historical and facts and your experience on the island. So, why do you decide to speak out about issues like the casino and Assange? Why do you? Yeah, given your current role.
Well, first of all, I'm interested in a lot of various topics, and I find Saipan to be the most interesting place in the world. Every day I find something where I think, man, I have 100 follow-up questions about this. I can't think of anywhere else where there's such a blend of historical currents, present cultures, and the Assange hearing is certainly indicative of the kind of choices that are made out here that in many ways can be a footnote, but if you're in the middle of it, it raises a lot of interesting questions and thoughts. I've always wanted to learn more, and I also think that there's some advantage in me speaking out because I am an outsider. I don't have a lot of the same pressures against me that many of the folks that live here and have their lives here, that are concerned about burning bridges or tarnishing relationships, or being retaliated against. They feel like they can't speak out, and I'm familiar with that. Small town Texas is very similar in a lot of ways. The rumor mill is harsh. The idea of protecting your neighbors and your family from outside criticism, it's very present in any small community, and I think even more so in a community that's island-based and that's so far away from the mainland. That being said, I already am in a position where I'm going to be viewed as an outsider no matter how much and how genuinely I express my love for this place. So if I'm already there and I'm already not going to be welcomed in, at least I can say what I observe clearly and honestly, so that way at least no one can say no one said it, we didn't know.
I did want to shift to talk about the task force.
Sure.
Like you said, it's been quote unquote revived in some way, the Public Integrity Task Force. So what is the mission? What does the day-to-day work look like? How can the community who might have some tips for you reach out?
Sure. So the Public Integrity Task Force, and that's the name that's a little bit less of a mouthful than the Task Force for White-Collar Crime, Financial Crimes, and Anti-Corruption Investigations and Prosecution. So Public Integrity Task Force, because there's also an aspect of it that's not just about prosecution. Right? It's not just about attempting to look backwards and identify what has gone wrong and to bring those individuals to task, although that is of course part of the mission. It's also forward-looking and has a education component of looking at best practices, governance, systemic flaws that could be improved. At hey, this is one of the weak points that might allow a bad actor to come in and not get caught, right? Or to a lot of oversight and governance is about making it to where you just incentivize people doing the right thing and disincentivize people doing the wrong thing. And sometimes that takes not looking at one particular case, but looking at patterns. So I thought that the group that we have is the Department of Public Safety, it's the Office of the Public Auditor, and it's the AG's office. Obviously, there are different roles and authorities with each of those, but working together, the hope is that we can share resources, and we can have a little bit more open communication rather than waiting for the AG's office, for example, to just be waiting for an investigation to be entirely completed, perhaps on matters that the investigators don't have knowledge and experience about. So things related to government, intergovernment conflict that probably or possibly has wrongdoing, anything relating to contracts, anything related to white-collar crime. Those are all in our ambit. Now, I can't really talk about any specific active investigations, of course, but there are obviously high-profile instances in the last several years where there's a lot of open questions about the use of public money. That's where our task force is working on trying to identify, make sure that it doesn't happen again, and identify if there was criminality.
I think so far we've seen the Torres case, the Regis case, and the Merib case, but there's multiple investigations right now?
Well, there's also there's at least one contempt case for the Boost investigation as well.
Right. Yes,
Yeah.
That's right. And are you able to share if there's you're actively looking into multiple things, or what is the?
We handle everything from before it's charged through prosecution. So just because there's no charges yet filed doesn't mean that we're not actively working on investigations.
Okay. And how can people get in touch with you? If I'm someone in the community and I know someone did something wrong or there's something questionable, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
The best way is to email me, which is james_kingman@cnmioag.org.
All right. Mr. Kingman, that's all the questions I had. Is there anything else you want the public to know about you or the work that's being done?
I believe in this place. I believe it can be better. And I believe that the disappointments and heartbreak that have been here for decades is not something that this place is doomed to repeat. things can get better. But I can't do it alone. I'm an outsider. I'm here to coach and facilitate. But I've spoken with so many folks who really believe in change and really believe in letting this place be what it can be. But they're timid. They're worried that there's going to be repercussions. And I just want to express that you don't need to worry about that anymore. There's scrutiny now. There's protection now. So if you want to be part of the future and change, please reach out and help us.